Good morning. Welcome to Speaking of Animals. I'm Amy Cartenuto from Flagler Humane Society. My special guest today is Dr. Frank Caporale. Is that how you say it?
Caporale. Good enough.
Dr. Frank brings 4 decades of veterinary experience to us. 4 decades. Dr. Frank, how's that happen? You're only 49.
You're making me feel old. 4 decades. Jeez.
4 decades. He started as a veterinarian when he was 8 years old, right? So Dr. Frank went to Messina Veterinary School in Italy. That's cool. And he maintains active veterinary licenses across 6 states. Dr. Frank has experience in private practice, shelter medicine, emergency hospitals, developing exceptional skills for routine care, critical care. In 2023, Dr. Frank and his beautiful wife, Heather, relocated to Florida. Thank goodness. We're so happy. And he's Dr. Frank's a dog guy. Unfortunately, I know you lost 2 pets not that long ago. That's
unfortunate, part of the field.
Yep, we can all relate to that and how that is. But thank goodness, Dr. Frank is volunteering now or working at Flagler Humane Society at least 1 day a week. I'm trying to get him for 7 days a week, but right now we're at 1. And thank goodness that Dr. Frank, right now you've been doing like 1 day a week with us appointments, right?
Exactly.
And all of your I had another one of your clients stop in yesterday, and Dr. Frank is the best veterinarian ever. Like, we get so many compliments on you, Dr. Frank.
What a great feeling. I came down here to retire.
Nope.
Finding more friends. I love it.
No dice. We're not going to let you retire. So Dr. Frank and Boo Boo, who actually is backed by popular demand. Boo Boo is our third our third guest today. You guys might remember Boo Boo was on a show with us a few weeks ago, and she is still waiting for her forever home. So Boo Boo's a young-ish, like we think maybe 3-ish, 4-ish years old, kind of pitty mix, super sweet. Like, she rides well in the car. She's just so sweet and just hanging out here in the studio. So still looking for her forever home. So we brought her today to help us discuss summer issues and pets and heat issues and snake issues. And you want to talk snakes first?
Florida issues.
Yeah.
Well, basically, being here relatively new, I signed up for a venomous snake medication that they send me information all the time. Mm-hmm. And they enlightened me to say that around this time of the year, Florida, you have these creatures all year round. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess you're all aware of that. It seems that the month of June, they see a peak in it. For some reason, I'm not really unaware of that, but they mentioned to me to be aware and look for this. If you're walking your dogs in the parks, trails, even for your own children, it's a time when you have to be a little more vigilant about what's happening.
For sure.
And we may not even know our dogs get a snake bite. They come back in limping, a little something on their face that doesn't look right, or on their paw. It's something that has to be addressed almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people may overlook that, just thinking, oh, he just stubbed his toe out there. And it's a constant thing down here. Maybe in the north it's more seasonal, but here we always have to be aware of that, especially children going into the woods and all. So it's something that it's out there. In fact, my own neighbors in my area, they see these guys all the time. They're around. And not a lot of snakes are all venomous. Some of them will still bite you and create an infection and whatnot. So these are little things that we have to not overlook, especially in our seasonal changes.
For sure. And there's only like 6 snakes in Florida that are venomous. But like you say, even a snake bite of a non-venomous snake needs to be...
Can give you a nice infection. People aren't aware that. They can still bite you, and they can hurt and hold on, and they get really usually they have a gram-negative bacterial infection that they secrete in their jaws, and that could be very difficult to treat in the human bite. So things that we're trying to avoid.
Right.
So all I'll say is awareness of those things, especially maybe more so in this month.
Yeah, like if it's in your own yard, keep your yard mowed and
keep aware and keep looking for these little guys out there. I fortunately haven't come across them. I only been down here a little while.
Better knock on wood.
I know, but everybody tells me they're there, and if they're good ones and bad ones, good, they're still and most people's negative, but let the good guys take care of the bad guys.
Yes, exactly. Like I always try to tell people, don't try to kill the snakes, because that's when people get bit. If you leave it alone, for the most part, they're going to leave you alone.
Exactly. Any wildlife, the same thing. In fact, I find it comforting when I'm in the backyard and I see the hawks flying around the house. Because if the hawks are flying over your house, you're pretty well sure that those snakes are hiding. They're not looking to become bait. So the good signs of things you pick up.
But we do need to tell people, if you suspect that your dog or cat or whatever pet may have been bitten by a snake, time is of the essence, right?
At the essence. And even if you're not sure, get it into a veterinarian, emergency clinic. Even if it's just an exam, they're going to look at it and they'll be able to tell one way or another, or they'll get you in the loop. So they'll send you home maybe an hour or so later. They'll recheck with you and see how you are on the phone. So at least you're not abandoned. You're not alone. Right. That's the important thing. They have a base to work with. You can't tell more than that.
Yeah. So that's just one of many Florida summer worries, right?
I think it's an everywhere thing. We just aren't aware of it as much as we are here. Mm-hmm. So that's what opens our eyes to it. That's the difference.
For sure. I know we were, as far as other summer things to worry about, obviously heartworm is something that a veterinarian, how much of your life have you spent trying to educate people on heartworm,
I think
right?
Before I got into vet school, I was starting it. But it's, here we say the word summer, which is summer year round in Florida. Just it's an increased summer. That's all it is. It's a beautiful summer for us here. In the north, those diseases, the heartworm is transmitted by mosquitoes. So when they start to come into season, that's when our biggest problem starts. Down here, we have them year-round. Cooler weather suppresses them a little bit. They're still out there, but they're less. When you get the weather warm now, and you get a little of the rain come in, and those larvae get the water, they'll start to hatch more. So we get more of an influx of them at one time. Yep. That's the problem. In the north, cold all year, all of a sudden the heat comes in, and these mosquitoes hatch in droves. The mosquito is the transmitter of the disease. If we talk about that, would they like to hear what happens?
I think so.
Heartworm isn't transmitted dog to dog. You could take the physical blood out of one dog, transfuse it into another dog, and it won't get heartworm. It has to go through a cycle inside a mosquito. That cycle could take anywhere up to a month, but in warm weather down here, it could do it in 14 days. So the way it works, if you want me to give a quick explanation, there's a dog walking around the neighborhood, or a coyote or a wolf, or even sea otters get these things. These worms are in a lot of different animals. A mosquito bites that animal, picks up what they call the microfilaria, which are the baby worms. Those baby worms go into the mosquito, and they have to live in the mosquito for about, like I said, up to a month before they go into an infected form. Once they go into the infected form, the mosquito is flying around looking for another host to get some blood off. He goes and bites the host. Now, the bite isn't what the transmission comes from. That's the interesting point. Once the mosquito bites the dog, it's sucking the blood, has no idea. There's a little area on the mosquito's jaw where the baby worms crawl out of. And they go to the exact spot where the hole was that he's digging into, getting his meal. They go into the bloodstream. That's how they get in. So it's not transmitted by the actual bite. They find their way through. Once they're in there, they could be in there for about anywhere from up to a couple of months before they go into the adult stage. They're running through the bloodstream as babies. And they work their way up into the heart. That's when the problem starts. They develop into adult worms, and they're reproduced, produce more of these baby worms that go into the bloodstream.
And it starts all over again.
And the cycle starts back again. So that's our whole problem. The biggest issue we have with this disease, it's easy to treat or easy to prevent.
For sure.
And if I could tell somebody, if I give you this pill once a month and you won't get a disease for the rest of your life, would you take it?
I know.
I have no question about that.
No-brainer.
No, right.
Yeah.
I won't get the common cold if I take this pill forever. Yes, it's the same thing with this heartworm. And people don't know it until the problem starts. So a lot of people will come into clinics, take the heartworm test, which is checking to see if your babies have the adult heartworm. Okay, it's negative today. It means you don't have it, possibly. Walk out the door that day and get bit by a mosquito, then you'll get it.
Yeah.
So we don't want them to leave without any kind of a treatment or a preventative. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. So so any veterinarian that you take your pet to is going to have a variety of different heartworm
products,
preventions, and we have them at the shelter, different ones, whether they're the topicals or the pills.
There's so many different, and as long as they do something to protect that pet and the year's supply, they're covering it so they don't come in with a positive. You miss one pill, and this is the literature now, it's all new. One pill miss, that that mosquito gets in, it gets through the cycle.
Yeah.
And we can't get that out at that time.
It takes one mosquito bite.
It all it takes. And these worms are pretty devastating if you saw them in the heart.
Yeah, not good. Well, Dr. Frank, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about some more summer interesting things.
Interesting things.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to Speaking of Animals. I'm Amy here with Dr. Frank and Boo Boo the dog, who's still looking for her forever home. So, Dr. Frank, we were talking about summer issues. So we see heat strokes once in a while, which is heartbreaking.
Again, Florida year-round we have heat, but we may take it for granted. Okay, it's 80 degrees compared to 75 degrees. That's still hot. 90 degrees is another story. Leaving a dog in a vehicle for 10 minutes with the windows up to go into the store, okay, it's only 10 minutes, but you may get in that store and be stuck. The fresh register break, something happens, now became 20 minutes. And that's a problem really down here. And that could lead to death in a quick, short time in dogs, okay? Cats, same thing. Even people, same type of thing can happen. So we want to always prevent that. And I think people are aware of it. In Florida, I hope that people are more aware of it because we live in such a hot environment.
For sure.
Okay,
and
that's something that, we can't. And one of the places we were at, we would hold the animals in our facility while the people went shopping rather than leave it in the car because it made sense for the animals. It's hot out. They're taking people's dogs with them home. And that's a problem. So just look for that assistance if you can, or at best leave the dog home if you can. But make those very important things to consider.
And heat stroke, like what we said about snake bite. If you do have a pet that goes into heat exhaustion, time is of the essence. Get them help.
And the best thing I could say with that is in heat stroke, the quickest thing to do is wet their paws with ice water, just the paws, ice water, their ears and the back of their neck with a cold rag. The best to get those parts cold. If you immerse the dog in water, cold water, it will overheat when it comes out of there because it's like us putting a jacket on wet. You get cool for a second, then you get overheat. So you get those paws wet as you can, okay? And in most cases, that'll get it down. Then immediately, if you see the gum color turn very, very red, that dog has to go to a veterinarian to get it looked at. And hopefully we never get to that point.
Right. Hopefully we're watching closely. And, of course, dogs have a harder time processing, when they're in a hot situation, harder time than humans do. And then certain dogs have an even harder, like Boo Boo's little face here.
The brachycephalic dogs. We talk about the boxers and the bulldogs. Those guys give you indications right away something's not right. If you're in the house, your dog is heavy breathing, one of these guys, the last thing you want to do is expose them to the heat.
Right.
You want to take it easy. My example would be if I put a pipe in your mouth to breathe from, and it's a straight pipe, you could breathe through it straight. If I put that same pipe and I curve and bend it in 50 directions, the air doesn't flow into it, and you're gasping for air. This is what these dogs breathe like.
Bulldogs are built.
Yeah. So they can't get enough air through that pipe. And if they're struggling, that's a problem. And that's what we always want to watch for. Again, those dogs are even more susceptible to these type of things.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't. Again, if you're going to do this, wet their feet, get them soaked even before you take them out. Might help get their temperature
keep it
down.
from happening in the first place. And plenty of water.
Plenty of water
bowls.
And if you want that cold, icy towel, put it around his neck.
Yeah,
When he sits in the car, if anything. You have to do it.
So we've also got 4th of July coming up before we know it, right? So we're going to have fireworks, which are not a dog's best friend.
I guess don't come to my house because that's why No, they aren't. And a lot of dogs will with fireworks. Even people are frightened. And some dogs oblivious to it. Some dogs, if they're very on the edge, like I have these small dogs, Chihuahuas, Yorkies and all, that type of stimulus can create them to go into a seizure.
That's scary.
Because you get so excitable on that. So best medicines, if you really have an issue, addressing it with the veterinarian to get a prescription, something to take the edge off, which works fine. If you're okay and your dog isn't that bad, putting them into a nice room, maybe raising some music up, staying with them so they're not alone, so they're aware of what's happening. Comforting them is the best medicine you could do. But being with them and helping them is probably the best thing you could do than trying to avoid it.
What do you think about I think thunder shirts kind of work a little bit. What
yeah,
about
the thunder shirt's the same as us holding and squeezing our pad, which
what
is
do you
fine.
think about pheromone diffusers and some of that stuff? Or you think straight
anything
drugs?
that's out there, so a lot of different things over the counter. There's Clomicalms. People do antihistamine and Benadryl. They're not going to do bad if it works for you without any effect. And if your veterinarian says it's okay, they're going to hurt your pet. Those all work. There's no magic in them. There's nothing wrong with it. And a lot of times it just takes them down. So it makes them feel CBD oil people are using too. If it helps and you see an effect on your pet, there's nothing wrong with it as long as there's no side effects.
Yeah.
But the most I could probably say is comforting the pets. They're not alone in a dark room with the lights off and the fireworks are going.
Yeah.
They are unaware what's happening.
Yeah.
My little dog used to bark at the fireworks. He hated them. He barking after. He wasn't afraid. He would just attack them. So,
It was a little dog, right?
he was a nut. Yeah, he just would. The fireworks they were shooting, he would just run towards where they were coming from and bark at them. So he made more noise than the fireworks. And at the same token, if you want to mention barbecuing outdoors, because now you have everybody outside barbecuing and this going on all. Again, feeding our dogs goodies from the table and the grill might not be the best thing to do sometimes.
Yeah. No, we had a dog at the shelter just a few weeks ago that had swallowed an entire corn cob.
What?
That was emergency surgery, and
He took it right, and he wouldn't. And even if it not done intentionally, young child's holding it in her hand, dog swallows it in seconds, gone. Especially if it's a lab or something, they'll swallow that in one piece. We had them that swallowed a whole kebab. The shear came on.
Oh my gosh!
The whole thing. It went in, and it wasn't diagnosed for a couple of months later because when he swallowed the whole thing, it worked its way through its esophagus and came out the side of the neck.
Oh wow!
And it had a festering wound that kept oozing. What is this festering wound? It went in there with a hemostat, and I pulled out the whole kebab stick. It worked its way past everything and came out the dog's neck. I goes, oh, yeah, I remember we had a barbecue about 4 months ago. He took the whole thing off the table. So we don't want those surprises.
No, definitely not. Wow, it's so. It would be funny if it wasn't so horrible.
Yeah,
Jeez, poor baby.
We have to be aware of bones and things. And these dogs pick stuff up. People give them things. So we really have to be aware and attentive to that because we all love giving our babies something.
For sure. And we like to have them with us out in the sun and going to the beach and all that. And we've been talking about dogs. What about cats?
Cats, listen, cats. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not really sure if I've ever had a cat that had any emotional issue from fireworks. I never heard of cats.
Cats are.
I'd have to look into that. They seem to be oblivious to everything.
Yeah, but cats have other issues, right?
Other issue. The main issue I would say with cats, I love them to pieces. They're such cool creatures. Is that people kind of forget that these guys vomit up hair balls. Oh, my cat vomited a hair ball. Summertime especially now because they're going to be grooming themselves to clean them, cool themselves down and whatnot. Maybe swallow a little more hair. That's where the hairball comes from. It goes into the stomach, forms a little indigestible mass. And then what they do is they'll vomit it up. The problem with it is hairballs don't always go out through the mouth. They go the other way. And if you look at your litter box when you're a kitty and see hard fecal material, that cat is having a constipation issue. And those hairballs start to create a problem. They need to be on some kind of a stool softener that they sell for cats. I recommend it for all cats. Even if they don't have, put a stool softener in there so what comes through them passes. Because as they develop age things and older, they will develop concrete constipation that will become very, very difficult, a big problem for the cats. So that's something I try to emphasize. I only see this when it's too late. So if I could tell anybody, put your cat on a little hairball medicine to keep that bowel going. The litter box is where you look to see the hairball, not the mouth. Interesting. You wouldn't think that.
All right. Well, at least we talked about cats a little bit. It's mostly dogs we end up talking about, but poor cats.
And the other thing we should make quick mention to that cats aren't immune to heartworm either.
For sure.
They got another issue there too. So if a cat's in an endemic area where they're out, they should also be checked for heartworm because it can sneak up in those guys too, and it presents differently, and they can have real
die quickly, right?
So they're not the only ones that dogs aren't the only ones that are affected by this. So consider that if your cat's looking a little lethargic, vomiting, not itself. So a veterinary address should be done then too.
Sooner rather than later, yeah. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Speaking of Animals. So, Dr. Frank, some last words of wisdom from you.
Last words of wisdom. Yeah, I'm finally going to retire.
No, you're not. No allowed to retire.
Well, the last thing I could say is that I know a lot of owners love their pets to pieces.
For sure.
And sometimes finances become an issue if something happens. There's a big turn in America that we only have about just single-digit numbers. Now it's up to 12% of American dogs and cats are insured. Other countries in Europe and stuff are 30 to 90% insurances, which is pretty amazing. Because, unfortunately, we don't have the time and means to explain that pets insurance can be a big help when finances have a problem. I think owners should just be wise and look into these things. Mm-hmm. They're very affordable. Down the line, it'll save a lot of heartache if things happen financially for your pet. These pets are like family members.
For sure.
And the insurances aren't really medical. They're almost like a liability thing, like owning a car. And that's what the animal is considered. And it's a pretty interesting thing. I just got to read an article about it, and I think it's something that owners should just online check it, fit it into your budget, whatever you need to do, and then keep it as a background thing. I don't think it's a bad idea.
For sure.
I tell everybody, we love these animals to pieces.
Worth looking into.
And if things are getting more and more expensive, it gets complicated.
For sure, for sure.
Just a little thing.
I know at the shelter we're so grateful that we have you. We have other doctors as well, but we have you on Mondays, and we have other doctors, so we are able to offer low-cost appointments, low-cost spay-neuter, low-cost microchipping, low-cost vaccines, to try to help people be the best pet owners that they can possibly be.
And we see the outcome when some people can't afford things, that they come to us in despair, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's a heartache for us also.
For sure.
And it could be avoided.
Yes, and that's why we started our low-cost clinics, is because people were having to surrender pets, sometimes for things that were avoidable, a severe chronic ear infection or things like that. People were giving up on their pets and losing their family members. So I think with our low-cost clinics, we're able to kind of fill that gap where, we're not a full-service hospital, but we can help people with, with issues that can be expensive.
On the low end. And I'm happy to see those results. Because I see those little things come in, these allergy dogs, and we can get them over that hump and explain it to the people easily. They're so thrilled with it. And we give them a guiding line, basically. So I'm happy for that.
Yes. Well, like I said, the pet parents, as they're leaving, we love Dr. Frank. Oh. You're so popular, Dr. Frank. You're a rock star at the shelter.
All I try to do, and I tell everybody, when you don't know it all, anybody says they know everything and everything, that's a mistake. We learn. I still look through the books. But I give them a guiding light, a direction to go. If it's something we can't do, we'll send you to the specialist who can do it. You'll still come back to us for the things we can do. And that's what we do. Your same doctor will do the same thing. He's going to send you to an eye specialist for an eye problem. He's not going to do it. You'll still go back to him. And that's where my direction is, and try to calm people down. A lot of things aren't as bad as we think.
Well, thank you so much for working with us. Dr. Frank, thanks for helping us with the shelter animals and with owners' animals, and thanks for being on the radio show with us today. I think it was informative, and Boo Boo had a blast. She's tuckered out from.
I should make comment that most of the pets in the shelter have such a good life there. When we adopt them out, they want to come back. They have such a nice treatment they get. That they're really well loved, and perfect example is this puppy here.
Yeah, Boo Boo's pretty loved.
Boo Boo's beautiful. So this is what we look for.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you everybody for listening today, and we look forward to talking with you again next time.
Thank you, and have a good one.
Thanks,
Dr.
Frank.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.